Today we are looking at classic Conte, a 3-4-3 that I used at Chelsea during the 2016-2017 season. They went on in that season to get 93 points, one of the highest Premier League tallies ever. All this, considering after 6 games, they were down in 8th after losing 2 games. Halfway through the game of the 3-0 defeat against Arsenal, Conte ripped up the 4-2-3-1, what Chelsea were used to over the last few years, in particular during the Mourinho era, and went to his 3 at the back system, and Chelsea never looked back. In today's video, we're going to cover how it looks and how it shapes up in FM24. Let's go. Alright, so this is the 3-4-3. Now, this tactic, as always, is available down with my Patreons. Link down in the description for that. Thank you to all the guys that are on screen right now. Tremendous uptake over the last few months, so I appreciate that. But don't worry, if you're not a patron, I'm going to go through all the player roles, tactic roles, everything you need so you can copy it into your FM24 save. So, here we go, the 3-4-3. Now, I've used Napoli because with Napoli sacking Rudy Garcia only about a week ago, Conte will be back at home in it, and I just thought this team is kind of geared up for Antonio Conte to do a 3-4-3. You've got the beast up front in Osimhen, you know, not similar to Diego Costa, but that real number 9. You've got the world beater on the left, as in Kvaratskhelia, the Eden Hazard role. You've got decent midfield pivot there of Ngisa and Lobotka. You've got 2 decent wing backs. The other thing they're probably short of is maybe a couple of defenders. Potentially a right wing back, so then Di Lorenzo can come into this role here, and then potentially another centre half. So they're not actually too far off in terms of really good tactical profile for Antonio Conte. Right, number 1, the goalkeeper. Goalkeeper on defend. It's Courtois, very basic in build-up. Often would, still does to this day. It keeps it very, very simple. Superb shot stopper. So I've just got him as a goalkeeper on defend. The wide centre-back role on support. This is the Azpilicueta role, and I've also got dribble more on. Chelsea were very good at breaking out the press, obviously because they were the extra man against a front 2 or a front 1. They would easily break out of any presses, and obviously Azpilicueta, predominantly a right back at the time, him in that right centre-back role, would often come into these areas. They would obviously form these wide overloads. We talked about wide overloads last week in the Xabi Alonso's video, and it's similar here. They would often get Conte, the wing-back in the Moses, and then Pedro, the wide right midfielder, would form this little diamond and create overloads on this side, and then hopefully suck players across and then switch the ball out to the Hazard or the Alonso that would be on the other side. So, wide centre-back on support. The libero role, we've got a libero. Take more risks because that was David Luiz. If you can remember, they signed him back from PSG, I think it was, in the summer, and he was absolutely superb that season. We've put it on defend because he was, I'm going to say, more considered than usual. Even though he was in that middle of that back 3, he was superb, but we didn't see him really pushing in to make a double pivot or anything like that you would get with a support role. So I've just put him as libero on defend, but take more risks. On the left-hand side, central defender on defend, it's Gary Cahill, sometimes John Terry, but generally Gary Cahill, not spectacular with the ball, so we've just got that basic central defender on defend. Wing back on attack. Now, this is where we suffered a little bit with the Napoli side, just because they're not well suited. Di Lorenzo is very much a kind of Azpilicueta, really solid, really good mentals, really good physicals, but attacking threat not so much. But Chelsea at the time did have Victor Moses available, so they used him in this converted wing-back role. Maybe not good enough to be an attacking right midfielder, but superb energy up and down the pitch. We've got wing-back on attack for Victor Moses, no player restrictions. On the left, I've gone with a complete wing-back on attack on support. Now, I have been changing this depending on the opponents. This was Marco Alonso, and I just found him just not to roam too much, so we just got complete winger back on support because it does allow to roam from position slightly. He would often sort of like drift inside with the ball. Obviously, he's still going to get round the left-hand side as well, so complete wing back on support for him. Into the middle midfield, we've got the Conte, the Matic double pivot. We'll talk about Fabregas in a minute, but these two were the mainstay generally. We've got Conte as the DM on defend, and that's because we've got the Matic role, Lobotka here, as a deep line playmaker on support. I've done that just because Matic actually did rack up the 3rd most in terms of assists that season, behind Hazard and Fabregas. So we've got him as a deep line playmaker on support. Just see if you get forward just a little bit more to help maybe in and around that final 3rd area. And then with that, Conte would have done a lot more of the sitting and the protecting. A real nice, solid double pivot in there, ahead of the back 3, really good in rest defence. hopefully you won't get broke down too much on the counter-attack with those 5 sat in right in the middle of the pitch. And then the Fabregas role is an interesting one. He often came on, played a lot of games against teams with low blocks. They would often rotate. Napoli do have Zielinski, who's not amazing at it, but what I might do is put Zielinski in there and then maybe even change it as a roaming playmaker and get him just going just a little bit further forward in possession. You might even move that up once more and put that onto an advanced playmaker on support at times. Just something just to change, especially when you're coming against teams with low blocks. On the right-hand side, we're going with the Pedro role. Politano, pretty good at it. I've been changing it at times. I have been having the instruction of sit narrow. I'm a little bit concerned sometimes that Osimhen just gets a little bit isolated because we haven't got that midfield runner. We often would have the 2 wide players tucking right in, and I've kind of left Kvaratskhelia to just do his natural role, just to keep a little bit more width, because we do want to create that 1v1 as much as possible against that right fullback. But Politano, a play instruction quite easily could be sit narrower. Inverted winger on support. On the left-hand side, Kvaratskhelia, like Eden Hazard, inverted winger on attack. Roam from position as well. I want him drifting. Has scored a couple of goals. Here's the first one. Little nod down from Osimhen. Kvaratskhelia now inside. Inverted winger on attack. Cutting in. You can imagine Eden Hazard doing this. Drifting past 3 defenders and absolutely smashing home. And then because he's on attack, he's going a little bit further forward. And then he smashes home once again to give us a nice little victory away at Cagliari. And he did actually have a penalty to complete his hat-trick. All right, so that is the Hazard role, the Kvaratskhelia role. I did try advanced playmaker because I really like it on this left-hand side. And I did want to see a little bit of drift, but we just don't get that drive in Eden Hazard. So good at driving at defenders. We didn't get that so much with the AP, so I have changed it to an inverted winger on attack. And then up front, Diego Costa. This could be a whole host of things. I think it's so flexible, and this tactic is actually really good. Regardless of kind of your level, you're not asking too much technically. The role, I've gone complete forward on attack for Diego Costa. It could quite easily be an advanced forward, target forward, pressing forward, or a complete forward. I've just gone for all of them because Osimhen can do it. I want him linking play. I want him running in behind. I want him holding up the ball as a target man. I want him to do all those things. So that's why I've done that. But that one, I think, is quite free. I think you do need a presence. You need a presence because at times they will get isolated. So it'll be important to maybe get someone of that mould of an Osimhen who has obviously the physical profile as well to play up against 2 defenders all by himself. All right, into the team instructions. We've gone positive mentality. Now, focus down the wings. A lot of the play was focused heavily down the wings with the wing backs and the inverted sort of like wingers in Pedro and Hazard. So we've got focus left and right. Attacking width, I've just left blank. Slightly higher tempo with slightly more direct passing directness. Not overly reliant on possession. This one I've been changing. Lots of balls into the box. I haven't put it on because I've not found the need to. But if you just find that your players are just... You're waiting for your striker's waiting for it in the middle and the ball is just getting recycled a little bit too much. When we've been chasing games a little bit as well, I have been putting hit early crosses on. In the big games, you could more than likely as well be more disciplined because that would have been classic Conte at the time. In transition, we've got nothing for when possession has been lost, but in some of the bigger games, I would go regroup and counter-attack because Courtois and David Luiz would often try and hit Hazard, Pedro, and Diego Costa on the break, playing balls in behind, especially against a team with a higher line. In goalkeeper distribution, I've just left that off with distribute to centre-backs and leave the rest blank. Out of possession, now it is a mid-block. They very rarely chased and hassled and pressed. Most people like to do, I know I have tweaked between the two. You're more than welcome to bang that up to high press. You will probably get better possession numbers. You might get a little bit more success. We've also put get stuck in on personal preference, and we know it's Antonio Conte. He wants his players getting into tackles and getting stuck in. Pressing trap outside, and then cross engagement. I have put invite crosses on just because they've got 3 centre-halves in there. So it's like, go on then. Often it'll be 1 centre-forward against 3 centre-halves. Cross the ball into the box. It does say with invite crosses as well. Invite crosses ask the team to allow crosses in an effort to defend in situations they would be confident of being successful. John Terry, Gary Cahill, David Luiz, all exceptional in the air. So we'll allow them to cross it and then we can head clear and potentially break. Now, that is classic Conte. Check out the rest of the tactical videos. Next week is Tactic Week as well on the channel. There is tactic videos Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. All right, guys. Check out the Patreon as well. Smash like on today's video. Take care.